All right, so Tesla just announced or came out with the Tesla Model Y L in China. So it's actually already available to order and it is delivering in September. Some people have already gotten the early release models to kind of review or look over and everything. And I want to talk about some of the things that I'm excited about for this model. So the Model Y L is a 6-seat configuration. And some of the main things that are different from the current Model Y is that, for one, it is a longer wheelbase. So it does have a longer wheelbase, meaning that it's actually even a longer wheelbase than the Model X. So it has a lot more space that way, as well as it's a little bit taller than the current Model Y, and it slopes off on that teardrop shape a little bit less than it does on the current Model Y. And so what this does is actually, instead of for the current Model Y 7-seater, actually they don't actually have for the new version of Model Y, but our 7-seater Model Y on the previous generation is very cramped in that third row. It does not have enough room really for adults to sit in there at all. But definitely that is going to be the biggest difference between this 6-seat Model Y L versus the 7-seat version that we had for last year's model on the Model Y. And hopefully it looks like from pictures that there's actually going to be some legroom in there, some a reasonable amount of legroom, as well as enough headroom for a normal sized adult to be in there. Now, remains to be seen whether I would be comfortable back there, being a little bit over 6 feet. It might still be a little bit short, and your head would go up right up against that glass. But for most, say teenagers or kids, for sure, it's probably going to be a nice and much more comfortable space that actually, with that added length to the vehicle, there's a lot of legroom to play with between the second row and the third row. So that is great. Now, some of the big updates that are included on this Model Y, other than the obvious size difference, is the front seats. First of all, have a new bolster in the front, so that is adjustable for the front of the seat, so it can adjust back and forward. Apparently the wireless charger has a little bit of an air fan that will blow on there to keep the wireless charger from getting too hot between your phone. It would be nice to have that in cases like on road trips and stuff. When you leave it on there, sometimes it'll just say it's too hot to continue charging. So hopefully this will help with that. And then also, it does have a slightly larger screen. So it's a 16-inch screen versus the 15.4 in the current Model Y. So that's the changes that are in the front of the Model Y L. And in the back, obviously in the second row, now there is a 2, so it's 222 configuration for the front, the middle, and the rear. The 2 middle row seats are actually the captain's chair, so they actually have a split in between them, as well as they have it looks like a single push button to extend the armrests up and down. The cup holder is actually in the front or center console, so you can hit that and get those out there. And also, it is powered moving forward, backwards, as well as collapsing. So you can do all those from the screen, or you can do that from the buttons in the back. You can collapse them down. So the center row, unlike the Model X, which is a 6-seat configuration, the center row there actually does fold completely flat, which is great because then you can have plenty of storage space included with that. And then the third row is actually also powered to collapse as well. So you can actually power up and down all 4 of those seats for storage. And then also in the middle row, which is going to be really exciting, is those 2 captain chairs have heated seats as well as ventilated, just like the front seats are ventilated. So you get ventilated seats in the front and the middle row. And then the third row just has the heated seats, but still definitely nice to have that, as well as on the side pillars, there are now some air vents for the second row and for the third row, so you can get some more air circulation, especially to that third row. The third row obviously did not have a whole lot of airflow before having those vents, because there's no vents on the bottom and there's no vents on the sides. So it was really just dependent on the airflow coming actually from the center console for the second row. And you can sometimes like take down the middle there, and airflow would get back to the third row a little bit better. But obviously that messes up with the cup holders and that sort of thing. So this is going to be actually very helpful for that, to have the airflow back there. And then it also, with those powered seats and everything, if you have the third row up, the underfloor cargo storage, so it's magnetized. So like when you pull up that cover for the underfloor storage in the cargo area, it will just hold that cover up against it. So a lot of great features that are added to this Model Y. I'm really excited to see this Model Y in the US. Hopefully it will come soon. I'm guessing either maybe by the end of Q4, or it might be more of a Q1 type thing. There is the tax credit currently, so I know Tesla is not really anxious to come out with the cheaper Model Y or this nice addition to the Model Y lineup in the larger 3-row configuration until that tax credit is done. And there's probably going to be a significant hit to the number of people buying EVs in general starting in Q4, because that tax credit will be gone. However, this price of this new vehicle looks like, at least in China, it's only a few $1,000s more than the Model Y all-wheel drive. So it might be similarly priced to, say, a Model Y Performance. It might even be a little bit cheaper than a Model Y Performance. They haven't released a Model Y Performance, so we'll see about that. But if it's only about $3,000 to $4,000 more than the Model Y all-wheel drive, that is going to be an excellent deal and a great seller. Additionally, it does look like it's going to have over 300 miles of range. It looks like around 327 EPA estimated. Now, it's hard to tell for sure because it's obviously rated on a different cycle in China, and it's heavily optimistic. So we have to kind of estimate what it would be in the US on EPA versus the cycle for China, but it's estimated to be around 327 miles, which would be an excellent amount of range. In fact, more than our current 7-seat Model Y, and almost as much as our rear-wheel drive Model Y 5-seater, which is pretty impressive because rear-wheel drive, obviously with only a single motor, is much more efficient. So it maybe has a slightly bigger battery pack in order to do that, but we'll have to see all the details on that. Anyway, just wanted to do a quick video on this new Model Y L that's coming out in China and probably in Europe before it actually comes out to the US, but it is something that definitely looking forward to. Potentially, this might be our next vehicle that we buy from Tesla. Definitely was looking for something with a little bit more space, as well as it has some nice features that can be included there for, especially for the second row passengers. I'm sure our kids would much appreciate having those ventilated seats, as well as some more space, legroom, and everything on road trips. And then that third row looks like it's actually usable, at least more usable. It's going to be much more usable than our current 7-seat Model Y. So that's it for this one. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.